Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today we are going to do ombre ink, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways to get this ombre look. Now, I am going to start off by using this gorgeous stamp set. I have a few cards coming up using this one because I really like this, and I think it's a really versatile stamp set. This is by Hunkydory. It's called the Essential Overlay Sentiments. Now, first of all, the most obvious is the ombre ink pad. Now, this one is by Momenta. Now, I'm not sure that these are readily available anymore. I believe it's discontinued, but I have this one, so I'm going to use this one. But Hero Arts have the ombre ink pads, and these are very much readily available, and they come in lots of different colors. I actually think I have a couple of those, so I will link those down below. They are great ink pads to use. I really do like them, and obviously I would say that this is probably one of the easiest ways to get a gorgeous inked ombre look. Now, this one here I chose to do on a bit of an angle, so the bottom left is the light, and then the top right is moving on up to the darker one. Now, moving on pretty quickly, this is the old baby wipe technique, which is has been around for a long time and is really, really good. Now, I'm going to be using some Simon Hurley dye inks today for this technique. This is, I think I have Minty Fresh, Clear Skies, and Midnight Snack. And all you do is roll up a baby wipe or a damp cloth several times. So you want this to become like your own little personal stamp pad or ink pad that you can stamp out of. Now, I have many videos showing this technique. I have many ways of how to be successful with this technique and all those good things. I will link some of those videos down below and in the top right hand corner, but there are lots of good ways that you can do this technique. But basically, you put down some ink. Now, Reinkers are absolutely fabulous. I think it is a great investment to purchase this at the same time as your ink pad. Now, I think my baby wipes here were a little bit dry, so I probably should have got some new ones out of the pack, and so I didn't get the perfect stamp here, but this is pretty good, and it is very ombre. Of course, these aren't going to look absolutely identical because I'm simply using different colors and different brands of ink. Now, for the next one, I am going to move to a stamping platform, and this is kind of the third way that you can do this. I'm going to shift the stamp itself here onto the lid of the stamping platform, and I'm going to use some ink pads to do this with. Now, I'm going to be using the Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Inks. I have the SEAFOAM, which is the lightest color. I have Surf, and then I have Ocean. Now, I will admit that these are the only 3 inks I have of this line. I do really like them, but I just wasn't ready to invest in a new ink pad at the time, and I want to try out a couple of others before I go ahead and invest. Now, I also want to show you kind of 2 different ways of doing this technique. So the first one, I'm going straight in with the ink pad, and I am overlapping them ever so slightly and going from the lightest on the left and then the darkest color on the right. Now, this one here, I'm actually going to take some finger daubers and dab the ink onto the stamp, and I find I get a much smoother transition in between colors if I do it this way, if I add the ink this way, rather than the lines that I get when I am going straight from the ink pad onto the stamp. So this is sort of the same technique using the same thing, but I think this one is worth mentioning that I tend to get a smoother transition if I do it this way. So there is at least 3 different ways to do ombre ink, and I thought that I would put together a gorgeous card at the same time as going over this. It's always handy to remember different techniques, and that there's always more than one way to get a certain look or to do a technique. Absolutely. And I love that on my channel. I'm all about using the things that we have, finding ways that we can create a look that we see, maybe using either what we have or in a bit of a creative way, or doing something a little bit different to get a similar technique, all the good things. So I have lots and lots and lots of videos on my channel. I have nearly 1,000 in fact of card making videos, so you should pop on over and check out definitely some of the other ones. So we are going to create a card. Now I'm going to use my ink pad because this is by far probably the easiest and quickest if I'm just going to do a lot of stamping with this one sentiment. So this one is the big gorgeous hooray, and I'm going to do the little angle. I've got it on an angle because the word is a little bit longer. If I had a shorter word, I would turn the ink pad around and do it that way, left to right, but this way I still get a really nice ombre effect, so I was happy with that. So I'm just doing this on a piece of white cardstock. I do have a piece of scrap paper behind it because this is pigment ink and it is going to take a moment to dry. You may even want to dry it with a heat tool, or you may want to throw over a layer of clear embossing powder. That's going to work just as well to seal this in if you are impatient. I did not do that. I perhaps could have, you'll see when I'm putting this card together, I have to be a little bit careful not to pop my fingers in the ink because I didn't bother to do too much drying at all. I am going to trim down this panel just a little bit so that this becomes about 4 by 5 1/4, just a little bit, and then that way I'm going to add in a nice layer here from the Jules paper pad. This is one of the scrapbook.com ones. I highly recommend these. I never used to carry much coloured cardstock because I thought I could always make my own, and I absolutely can. But I must admit, with some of these little paper pads here, they are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches already. So that's the size of the card bases I usually make. And that just means I can, with all the different colours that are in one pack, I can have a couple of these paper pads and I have a really good selection. So I definitely have moved in that. And our choices always change over time. Something we thought didn't work for us back then might end up working now, or something that you didn't think you wanted to try, you might try it later. So as always with my videos, I do what I do now, and I'm not saying that might change or it may not, but I have really enjoyed using some of the coloured cardstock from these paper pads, that's for sure. I'm going to pop a little layer of double-sided tape on the back of there, and this is going to fit nicely. You can see with my fingers I am being a little bit careful not to get, not to try and put it in that wet ink because I didn't dry it. I probably should have at this point. That would have helped out, but that's okay. Then I'm going to take this layer and pop this onto my card base. The card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. You can still see a gorgeous little white border that goes around everything there. Then I'm going to take some of the blue ink. This is one of the Simon Says stamp ones, and I am going to stamp this onto a little flag. I have done this in a lighter colour of the ink, the Simon Says stamp surf colour, and then on top of that I'm actually going to use I think this is Bluebell. This is a pigment ink, VersaFine clear pigment ink, and I'm stamping birthday on top of this. It's nice and clear, it says happy birthday, and I just quite like that look. Then I'm going to put a little bit of foam tape on the back of this, and I had some extra little bits and pieces. I don't keep too many scraps at all in my scrap pile because I like to keep on top of it so it doesn't get out of hand. But I did find a gorgeous little flower and a little leaf that is going to contrast beautifully with the blues of the background and have a nice orange flower, and that is going to finish off my really easy, quick and simple card that we created today using the Ombre inks. So let me know, what is your preferred method? Do you have an ink pad that has it? Have you made your own from a plain ink pad, or do you just do the baby wipe method? I would love to know, so let me know in the comment section down below. If you would like to recreate this card, or you have a different version of an ombre card, then I would love to see your versions. So jump on over to my Facebook group. It is called Come Crafting with Natasha. There is always a link down below in the description box, and you can come and join our group. We have 15,000 or so members. It is such a beautiful, supportive group, and you can see everybody else's ideas and share your ideas if you want to, or you can just lurk and enjoy that as well. If you would like to support my channel and the free videos that I produce for YouTube, I would be very grateful, and you can do that over on the Buy Me a Coffee website, which again I have a link to down below. And the last thing down there is a link to my mailing address, and I have a P.O Box. I would love to get a card in the mail from you. I also share them on YouTube if you are comfortable with that, but there's nothing happier in my week than when I go and check my P.O Box. It is truly one of my most favorite parts of being on YouTube and being able to actually get the cards in my hand. So I appreciate the time it takes you to do that in real life. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.